Okay, everybody, there's one more thing that I need to mention about variables, and that is when you're entering different types other than what you might expect. Let me just say first, I've already removed the code that was here and added some new code. I've got it commented out for now, but I'll walk you through it in a moment. I just did this to save a lot of time for me typing it all. So let me start with this. I have int ssnum equals, and I put 5 minus 1. Up until now, we would have just said 4, but I wanted to show you what happens. If I put 5 minus 1, it outputted the 4. Why did it output the 4? Because it said, hey, this is an integer, and an integer is a whole number, and therefore it can't be an expression, so we have to solve it. So it subtracted 1 from 5 and came up with 4. It assigned 4 to ssnum, and then this right line statement outputted it. Why am I telling you this? Why is this so important? This is important because when you ask somebody to enter a telephone number, for example, a lot of times they will enter something like what I have right here, 345-456-1122. Or they may say something like 345-456-1122. Either of these causes a problem. And the reason is because as an integer, the computer would have to try to solve it. So there's two different ways that a program can handle something like this. One, which is what C# will do, it'll just give you an error. It'll say, hey, you told me it's going to be a number. This is an expression. You can't do it. Or sometimes it'll actually, in other languages, go in and try to subtract 1122 from 456, and then it'll subtract. Actually, it'll start at the left because of order of operations. It would say 345 minus 456, and it would come up with a negative number. Then it would subtract another 1122 from it, and it would you would end up with something like, instead of having an actual phone number, you would end up with something like minus 3429 or something weird like that. And that actually is a big problem that a lot of people don't realize when they're first dealing with this. Let me show you here what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and save it and run it. I've got it set up to be... Let me go ahead and... I forgot to change that. Let me stop this. I forgot to comment that out, and I wanted to put this back to 0. Okay, so it's going to ask me to enter a telephone number. Then it's going to read what I accept. It's going to convert it to an integer, and then it's just going to output it. So, if I enter something like 56, then it just outputted 56 and it was finished. But if I try to enter this as an actual phone number, if I say 456-567-1122, then it's going to come up and it's not going to work because it doesn't know how to handle that. It's saying, hey, you said that's going to be an integer. I don't know what to do. And it's just frozen. So this causes a problem in your program, because what if you ask somebody to enter their phone number and they did it like that? So what we have to do instead, and this will make total sense in just a second, is instead of doing it as an integer, we do it as a string. So I come down here. I have the same exact lines, only I have them set up for a string. So it's going to ask you to enter the number. It's going to read it as a string, and then it's just going to output the string. What happens is, let's say 235-457-8855, and it just saved it as the string. It didn't attempt to solve it. So this is very important, because if it's a string, it won't try to solve it. Now, the problem with that also is, if it's a string, it can't add or subtract to it. That's why we had to convert it to an integer. So you have to be careful what types of variables you're using for what. It depends on what you're entering and how you're going to use it. Often, what you'll see is, you'll see a program that'll say, enter your area code. And then it'll say, enter the rest of your phone number. And they do this so that they can do a search and search for everybody with that area code or something like that. And to do so, you just simply have to have two variables. But I just wanted to point this out, because this is one of the most common mistakes that people run into when they say, oh, a phone number is a number, or a social security number is a number. And they try to set it up as an integer or a double or whatever, and you come up with all kinds of problems. So I just wanted to add that on real quick and let you know that anytime you have something where they're going to be entering something with dashes or parentheses or whatever, you got to make sure it's a string. Otherwise, it'll be treated as a number and possibly give you an error. So anyway, all right, that's it, guys.